recording now.
Okay,
We're back.
I think we're back.
Hopefully. I can hear you, you can hear me, but
We heard each other the whole time.
we're not sure what everybody else
But
can hear.
evidently, people out watching on Facebook and YouTube could not hear us. We had a problem with our microphone, so it is not your fault. We have returned. And so I think we are good. I'm hearing from. Let us know in the comments if you could, if you're watching, if you can hear us. Okay, I'm getting a nod.
Good.
I think that's
Positive
that's
nod.
good. So we are back. So what you did not hear us talking about is that, first of all, a couple of quick things. We are joined today by Paul Kelly. Paul is a vice president of operations at the Arbor Company. He is an operations expert and in all things operations. And operations includes things like
Housekeeping, laundry, and maintenance.
housekeeping, laundry, and maintenance. And that's what we're talking about today. And that's why Paul is an appropriate person to bring on this show. And for those of you that don't know, I'm Chris. You see my name down right there below the screen. And this is Paul. Haha, look
Hey,
at
everybody.
that. Right on time. And Paul's got a nice Senior Living Live mug. So we're good. We're ready. Sounds like everybody can hear us. We're getting a wave from Melissa. It's fixed. Okay.
Great.
Take a deep breath. We're
Back to the beginning
We're back.
again.
Okay. So what we were talking about with housekeeping and laundry and maintenance,
Mhm.
those things, seem kind of mundane, but they're important. It's a fact of life. You've got to do it. You can't just keep going out and buying new underwear every day.
Right.
And so in senior living, now we're kind of talking in broad strokes here, right? So at the Arbor Company, we operate independent living, assisted living, and memory care. And every community is different. Every service level is different in terms of what is included and what isn't. So you really kind of have to check with the community that you're shopping. But in general, let's talk about maintenance first. What is included in terms of maintenance? In
Well,
a community?
first of all, I think an important thing to remember is that this is often the forgotten things that our residents don't think about when they're shopping for senior living, and it's an attempt to provide not only good customer service but great support to the residents so they can be as independent as possible. And as far as maintenance goes, I kind of break it up into two different categories. You've got the maintenance of the physical things that are Arbor's responsibility, which is the physical plant, the air conditioning, the plumbing, and things like that. And we are responsible for maintaining that. And that includes, changing the air filters a couple of times a year to keep the pollen out.
So that's similar to like a traditional apartment complex,
Correct.
right? Those types of just
Correct.
the operating the building. It's not your responsibility.
Right.
It's the,
Yep.
whoever owns the building.
And, unclogging the drains, fixing air conditioning when it goes down or heat in the winter, all of those types of things. But our maintenance staff also is very good at doing personal maintenance items for residents as well. And that might be anything as simple as hanging a picture in your apartment, or maybe you like your air conditioning a little cooler or a little warmer, helping to adjust the temperature on that. Light bulbs that get burnt out. I mean, we don't want some of our residents climbing on chairs or ladders to change light bulbs. We would prefer to have our staff do that. So really anything that you would do that's, kind of a household chore, our staff are happy to help you with that.
Okay, and that's kind of part of just what comes with
Correct.
senior living, different types of senior living.
Correct.
And does that go to things like, I bought a new table and I need help getting it put
Sure,
together or something
absolutely.
like that? Okay.
Bookshelves, tables. We try very hard to stay away from repairing personal items because sometimes that's a little difficult. We would certainly be, if you had for instance, a radio that wasn't working, we'd be very happy to help you find somebody
Yeah.
that could help you fix
We're
that.
not Radio Shack.
We're
right?
not Radio Shack, but in the same response, one of the big things that people do all the time, and I know I do this myself, is you have all your remote controls for your television, and sometimes I'll get to a point where I've pushed one button incorrectly and I don't have any sound, kind of like we did earlier, and having someone come up to your apartment and help you through that because it gets frustrating. So even that's a simple maintenance task that people forget. But as opposed to the resident, calling their son or daughter or something like that, we're happy to help you with those types of things.
So here's something I've wondered. How do things like carpet and repainting and kind of the general repairs, how does that work in senior living? Is that done before someone moves in or,
Correct.
or what?
And that kind of depends on where you are in the senior living. In independent living, we function more like a regular apartment. So
Okay.
if you exit the apartment and move out, we would recarpet, repaint, freshen it up for the next tenant. Um, and then during your stay there, there might be some touch-up painting or carpet cleaning you know, that comes in place. In assisted living, same type of thing, but probably we would do a little bit more with the carpet cleaning and the floor cleaning and things like that. And assisted living tends to get used a little bit more than just a regular independent apartment. But those are things that many communities offer complimentary with your stay at Arbor. And there's also a list of things that you can ask to have done for you, as we talked about, doing a kind of a personalized plan for every resident. So if maybe you have a pet or something and your carpet gets a little dirtier than normal, you might ask us to come in and clean the carpets once a quarter or once every 6 months, as opposed to maybe once a year. So those are things we can offer with you as well.
So it's about customization and sort of
Correct.
figuring out. There's no set schedule.
There's really no
necessarily.
set, no.
Yeah, just kind of as needed.
And
Okay.
occasionally certain tasks that might be outside of the bigger scope might be a small fee attached to that for certain things, but generally most everything's complimentary in our properties.
Okay. So sort of like having a built-in general handyman.
Correct,
Right.
which is nice to have.
Or handyman
I wish
staff.
I wish I had one.
Yeah,
That'd be
me
great.
too. Okay, so let's move on. So that's maintenance, and we've lumped all of these things together because they're kind of these general services that are provided. But typically in a community, they're kind of all under the same department.
Correct.
Right, under the
Yep.
kind of the maintenance department. So let's talk about housekeeping. So
Mhm.
you're in your apartment, you're into the community. What types of housekeeping are provided on a regular basis? And I know it's different community to
different, yeah.
community, but
It's I would say it's a basic cleaning, probably done weekly for most folks in assisted living or memory care, depending on the resident's apartment and what type of issues they may have going on. There may be more frequent housekeeping, more than once a week. Some of our independent livings have like a real thorough deep cleaning once a month or once every 2 weeks. It really depends on the community and where you are. It's typical, probably do a quick clean of the kitchen, wipe down the counters, wipe down the sink, clean the bathroom, shower, mop the floors, vacuum, dust, kind of your basics that you would get.
but the key is you're not having to do it yourself.
You don't have
Yeah.
to do it yourself. A lot of residents are very specific. They want certain things done a certain way, which we're happy to accommodate. We try very hard not to disturb personal belongings. We know those are cherished, and so we probably try to steer away from doing things that would be maybe cleaning expensive artwork or something like that. We'd give you some assistance on trying
You
to
just
find
spray
a
Windex on
professional,
it, right?
right?
Yeah.
So, and then typically in most communities, a deeper, more thorough cleaning at certain intervals, maybe every year or every 6 to 8 months or something like
Yeah,
that.
that spring cleaning type
But
of thing.
yeah, but we really want our residents to have a clean living environment, and we respect their wishes to not have that option, but
Yeah.
it's really for everyone's best interest. It's good to have a nice clean place.
Now,
to live.
now, if I move in and I like things a certain way, and maybe I live a somewhat of a messy life, but I
Mhm.
think it's organized.
Yep.
I've got my piles of paper and things. Are
Mhm.
you going to go in and move around on my
No,
papers and
no.
everything?
And that's when our residents move in, we sit down and make a kind of a customized service plan, and that might be something that if you're that type of person and all of your piles are organized, you might say, just clean the kitchen and the bathroom. Don't worry about the rest of the apartment. Maybe every 3 months you'll gather everything up and we can come in and clean under it, and then
Dust and
you can put it
things
back
and-
down again.
Okay.
But those types of things are important to point out. We all have our different lifestyle and the way we live, and to some people, having weekly housekeeping is not important at all. To other people, it's very important.
It's hugely
Yeah.
important. Yeah. Something that as you're talking, I just thought about. I don't know, and I'm sure that there are people out there, but I don't know that I've ever seen someone move in like with their own vacuum cleaner. right? I'm sure that
Well,
there
they
is, right? But
residents do. I mean, I have seen it, but you know, I would say for the most part, you probably, especially in assisted living and memory care, you don't need to bring that with you.
yeah, just going to take up
Independent living,
space
yeah.
and
And, you know, we always worry about things like the long cords on a vacuum. You know, if it's left out, it can be kind of trip hazard for some of our folks, and better to have our staff doing it. A lot of times we try to do the housekeeping when a resident may be out at a program or out on a shopping trip or something, so that, you know, we don't disturb their private time. We usually put together a schedule, and, you know, your time might
everybody
be 10
knows.
o'clock on a Tuesday,
Yeah.
and
And if you need something in between those times, you could always ask for
absolutely,
it, right? So you
absolutely,
don't, you know, if
yeah. I
you
mean, if
spilled
you,
a bag of chips, you could call someone to vacuum it up.
right, exactly, exactly. So,
Okay, I need that at my house.
yeah,
2 little kids. Yeah,
you need a on-demand
I do. Yes,
housekeeping
yes.
service.
It was too much for the robot vacuum. We had to take that back.
Oh,
It was-
yeah.
Okay, so let's go to the third one, and that's laundry.
Sure.
So, you know, we all wear clothes. We all get our clothes
Mhm.
dirty. And what, you know, the way I've seen it is there's 2 types of laundry. There's like your linens,
Right.
your beds, sheets, and towels and things
Mhm.
like that, and then your clothes. So
Right.
how does that work?
I would say typically it's a combination of both. So, you know, we want you to have clean towels and fresh linens, usually on a weekly basis, or, you know, more frequently or less frequently, depending on your preference. And then most places have 2 options. They probably have a common laundry room where you would be welcome to go and do your laundry. And it's not the pay laundry where you have to put quarters in. It's just simply a room with washers and dryers, and you can wash your laundry whenever you want to. Or we can have someone come to your apartment and collect up a couple of baskets of laundry and wash it and dry it and fold it and bring it back to you. You know, depending on what your preference is, most communities have these laundry services kind of as part of the basic package. You certainly could ask for more frequent laundry being done if that was what you needed. We even have some residents that, you know, like their sheets changed 2 or 3 times a week, and we're happy to accommodate that. Sometimes there's a little additional fee for those services.
This
Sometimes
is the labor involved and
Yeah.
all of that. But okay.
so, and really, you know, when we look at the fees, you know, it's really something to help us be able to, you know, keep the staffing in place to accommodate the services. I mean, it's not a fee that we charge just to make money on the
Yeah.
service. It's a fee to accommodate the staff that we've hired to perform the services.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pretty
Well,
much.
that's good to know. So, advice for someone who is shopping for senior living, you know, these things that we've talked about are going to vary a little bit from
Right.
community to community. What do they need to ask about and look for?
Well, I mean, I would ask about all 3. You know, for maintenance, you know, what does that include? Can I get help putting a bookshelf together that I order on Amazon? Or can I get someone to help change the light bulbs, or, you know, fix the squeak or fix the rattle? And then find out what is the process for that. Who do I call, and, you know, how long ahead do I need to schedule something like that? For housekeeping, same type of thing. What comes complimentary with my package as I move in, and what would be an extra charge? Sometimes, you know, you can negotiate services. Well, maybe you don't need housekeeping. You like to do that yourself, but you might need more laundry. So we can, you know,
Kind of
trade one off for
mix and
another.
match a little bit. Okay.
But I would ask, you know, the frequency. How do I access the services? What comes complimentary? What is an extra charge? And, you know, what are the expectations about that? You know, when I have my apartment cleaned, what defines a weekly cleaning? You know, for some people, I mean, to me, somebody coming in getting any piece of dirt off the floor is a great thing, but other people may want, you know, everything dusted and polished in a
Yeah.
more intricate detail. So I think don't be afraid to ask those questions. I think a lot of our folks move in with us, and they kind of forget that those are kind of 3 extra services that are added into your package. And, you know, you kind of think, oh, the light bulb's out, I got to go to the store, I got to buy a light bulb, I got to get on a ladder, and I got to put it in. And then you think, oh, wow, I've got somebody here that can do that for me. Isn't that great? I can go play golf or go hang out at the pool.
Yeah. Or on the other end, you don't want to assume that something is included or whatever, and it may not be at that particular community. And maybe that's not a huge deal, but you want to know about it up front.
Mm-hmm. And I think, you know, there are never any stupid questions to ask when you're moving into senior living. You know, ask. We have many people that come in with a long laundry list of things. I know, like for you, when you buy a house, you know, I bought a house recently, and when I moved in, realized it didn't come with window screens. And I thought, well, I should have asked that, but I didn't think to do so.
Yeah, well,
you know,
next time.
Next time we have to ask about that. So, I mean, you know, but don't be afraid to ask. The teams in the communities are very happy to answer your questions. Most of our communities have what we call like a resident handbook. So you can get a copy of that resident handbook, and it will tell you about laundry services and how to call and how to put in an order to have something repaired. You know, what time meals are and things like that. Just know the process. And don't be afraid to speak up. I mean, if you're scheduled for housekeeping and it doesn't get done, don't be afraid to tell somebody, you know, hey, my housekeeper didn't come by today. You know, maybe there was a scheduling conflict. We're happy to fix that if we make a miss on that. Don't be afraid to speak up.
Good to know. Good to know. Well, you know, listening to this, I think that this is valuable information. Number one, just to answer some of these questions that people have. But also, these are other considerations to think about if you're on the fence of should I move or should I not, or should I even go and tour a senior living community? You know, these are things that ultimately are going to make your life easier because you don't have to do them. I mean, maybe, you know, depending on your physical condition, it could be difficult to do some of these things. Certainly not safe all the time to get up on ladders and chairs.
And it might be, I mean, frequently we have residents that are sort of half in independent living, half in assisted living. You know, some of these services being offered more complementary in the assisted living side may make that a more appropriate option for a resident as opposed to not having those services.
That's true. That could be a
living.
factor.
That
It's
could
not
be a
necessarily just,
Correct.
you know, do you need medication help or not or something. That's a good point. So we actually recently we had someone go to one of our communities in Florida and did an interview with this really great guy, Clyde. He's 84 years old, and he was very excited. He's in assisted living right now, and is going to be moving into independent living later once that
because it hasn't opened
yet. Yeah. So let's take a look at what Clyde has to say.
Great.
I got my TV, my desk, my bed. You know, it's excellent, and the facilities are beautiful, and housekeeping outstanding. They do your laundry, comes back folded. I'm spoiled. They've spoiled me here. Independent living is made for people like me. They've always something going on, and the activities are very versatile, all kinds, and it's ready for me, and I'm ready for it.
Clyde's ready for it. Are you? I know I am. I'm ready.
I'm ready for it now.
Yeah.
Let's go.
So again, these are things that you need to think about. But I mean, ultimately, if you haven't made the step, I think now is a great time for you to do that and go and visit your local senior living community. Ask them these questions about housekeeping and laundry and maintenance. Oh my. Or whatever else it is, you know, questions that you may have. They're going to be happy to answer those questions for you. And you know, if they're not happy to answer those questions for you, then you found the wrong place.
Right. And don't be afraid to say, this is what I prefer. You know, I would like this. Would you be able to accommodate that? I mean, I think the staff are pretty good at saying, sure, we can accommodate it, or maybe we can't.
It doesn't have to be that cookie cutter approach. Right.
And it really shouldn't be. I mean, really, when you're shopping for senior living, you should feel that the services you're being offered are customized to your needs, because what you may like, I may not like at all.
Yeah,
and
I'd be willing to bet that you don't clean your house the same day or the same frequency as your neighbor, right?
Probably not.
And so, but you have your preferences, and that person has their preferences. So something to think about. Yep. So next steps for you. So let's think about Senior Living Live. We have this is the 25th episode, by the way.
Wow.
Ooh, yeah. I don't know what anniversary that
Hold
is.
up the cup.
Yeah, there you go. So if you go to seniorlivinglive.com, you can see links there to our past episodes. You can, as you can see on the screen there, you can watch those on demand on YouTube or Facebook. Choose your poison. And we've got all sorts of issues about like how to pay for senior living, different considerations that you need to think about. We've had author Nancy Kreisman on to talk about sort of just geriatric consulting services and all these different things that you might want to consider. So take a look at those. If you want to look at an Arbor Company community, head over to arborcompany.com. I don't think we have that link to go below us here, but that's okay. But at arborcompany.com, you can see a list of where all of our communities are located. If one's near you, then great. If not, then do a web search. Call around, ask a friend, and see what they recommend. But I think what's the most important thing to do is take that next step. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to ask the questions. There are people in the senior living communities that do this every day. There's not a question that you're going to ask they haven't heard before.
Correct.
Right?
And you ask questions about everything. I mean, if you're buying a car, you ask questions.
Yeah.
If you're buying a vacuum, you ask questions. So it's appropriate to ask questions.
I would treat this just like that. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to do that. So so that's our challenge for you. So again, we do these shows, Senior Living live on Facebook and YouTube every Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern, except for last Friday when we had some technical difficulties. I apologize about that. So we hope to see you back here again next week. And thanks for joining today, Paul.
My pleasure.
It's nice to have you. And nice blue shirt, by the way.
Same to you.
Got the nice blues. All right. To everybody watching, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.